Microsoft is blocking more ways to set up a Windows 11 local account. When announcing Windows 11 Insider Preview builds 26.120.6772, Microsoft revealed that they are removing known mechanisms for setting up an offline or local account.
June 2025, Microsoft's Q3 earnings call drops a bombshell. Windows revenue declined 18% year over year. 18% in one quarter. CFO Amy Hood tries to spin it. Market dynamics and refresh cycle timing. But analysts aren't buying it. On the call, Goldman Sachs analyst asks the real question. How much of the revenue decline is due to enterprises refusing to deploy Windows 11? Silence. Then Hood admits, we're seeing deployment delays in some segments. Translation, businesses are rejecting Windows 11 at scale. The stock drops 7% in after-hours trading. Microsoft loses $180 billion in market cap overnight. And the next morning, leaked internal documents reveal the real crisis. IT departments at Fortune 500 companies are drafting migration plans away from Windows, not upgrading to Windows 11, leaving Windows entirely. The South Korea government ban. Start with the move that shocked the tech world. May 2025. South Korea's Ministry of Science and ICT issues a directive. All government agencies must migrate away from Windows 11 within 18 months. The official reason? National security concerns over data collection. The real reason? Windows 11 has become unusable for Korean government operations. The Korean language input system is broken. Performance is significantly worse than Windows 10. And the mandatory Microsoft account requirement violates Korean data sovereignty laws. The directive affects 1.2 million government computers. It's not just a rejection of Windows 11. It's a forced migration to alternatives. The Korean government is deploying a custom Linux distribution called Harmony KR, built on Ubuntu, localized for Korean language, optimized for government security requirements. By December 2026, 1.2 million Korean government computers will run Linux, not Windows. Microsoft sent executives to Seoul, offered concessions, special government edition of Windows 11 without forced telemetry, improved Korean language support, pricing discounts. The Korean government rejected everything. The decision is final. They've already invested $340 million in Harmony KR development, already trained 18,000 IT staff on Linux administration, already migrated 140,000 computers as a pilot. There's no going back. Microsoft lost South Korea's government market completely. But it's not just government. Korean businesses are watching. Samsung is testing Linux on 80,000 employee workstations. LG evaluating Ubuntu for 35,000 systems. Hyundai piloting Linux for 28,000 computers. When the government leads, corporations follow. Microsoft is losing South Korea, the world's 10th largest economy. Because Windows 11 is so bad, the government banned it. The Australian healthcare exodus.
On today's Windows Wednesday, I remind everybody why I switched to Linux. This news, of course, has been going around that Microsoft finally admits that pretty much every major core function of Windows 11 is...
Australia tells a different story, but reaches the same conclusion. The healthcare sector is abandoning Windows 11 en masse, not because of government mandates, because Windows 11 creates compliance nightmares under Australian privacy law. Royal Melbourne Hospital has 4,200 workstations, all running Windows 10. They tested Windows 11 on 200 computers, found that recall, even when supposedly disabled, was taking screenshots of patient records. That violates Australian Privacy Act requirements for health information. Copilot was sending medical data snippets to Microsoft servers for processing, also a violation. The hospital's legal department concluded, Windows 11 cannot be deployed without creating massive legal liability. They're migrating to a locked-down Linux distribution. Red Hat Enterprise. Linux configured for healthcare. No AI features. No cloud connectivity. No data leakage. They started migration in March 2025. Completed 800 computers so far. Zero compliance issues. Lower costs than Windows licensing. Better performance than Windows 11. They're not going back. St. Vincent's Hospital in Sydney is doing the same. 3,100 computers migrating to Linux. Royal Adelaide Hospital, 2,400 to Linux. Alfred Hospital in Melbourne, 1,900 to Linux. Every major Australian hospital is either blocking Windows 11 deployment or actively migrating away from Windows entirely. That's 47,000 healthcare workstations leaving Windows in Australia alone. The trend is spreading globally. UK's National Health Service issued guidance in April. Do not deploy Windows 11 on systems accessing patient data without legal review. Many NHS trusts are concluding it's easier to switch to Linux than fight compliance battles. Canada's healthcare system is similar. Germany's hospitals are evaluating alternatives. Windows 11's AI and data collection features made it incompatible with healthcare privacy requirements worldwide. Microsoft is losing the global healthcare market. The Brazil Sovereign Computing Initiative. But the most dramatic shift is happening in Brazil. The Brazilian government launched the Computing Sovereignty Initiative in February 2025. The goal? Eliminate dependency on foreign software for critical government functions. The target? Microsoft Windows. Brazil is moving 2.8 million government computers to a domestically developed Linux distribution called Linux Soberano within 4 years. This isn't just about Windows 11 being bad, it's about digital sovereignty. Brazil watched how the US government pressured tech companies to provide access to foreign data, watched European governments struggle with GDPR compliance while using American software, decided they need computing infrastructure they control completely. Windows 11's aggressive data collection made the decision urgent. Brazil can't have government systems transmitting data to Microsoft servers in the United States. It's a national security risk. Petrobras, the state-owned oil company, is migrating 45,000 workstations to Linux Soberano. Banco do Brasil evaluating migration for 78,000 systems. Eletrobras testing Linux for 12,000 computers. When government leads and major state-owned companies follow, private sector joins. Microsoft is losing Brazil, 215 million people, one of the world's 10 largest economies, because Windows 11 drove a sovereign computing backlash. The China acceleration. Nobody saw coming. China's been working to reduce Western software dependency for years, but Windows 11 accelerated the timeline dramatically. China's Cyberspace Administration updated guidance in April 2025. All government agencies and state-owned enterprises must complete Windows migration by December 2027. That's 18 months faster than the previous timeline. Windows 11's data collection poses unacceptable security risks. China's moving to domestic alternatives. Kylin OS, Deepin, UOS, all Linux-based, all developed by Chinese companies, all auditable by Chinese security agencies. The migration is massive. 62 million government and SOE computers switching away from Windows over the next 30 months. Microsoft is losing the world's second largest economy completely. But it's not just government. Chinese businesses are following. Alibaba migrated 140,000 employee systems to Deepin. Tencent moving 98,000 to UOS. ByteDance testing Kylin on 52,000 workstations. Chinese companies are concluding that relying on American software is a geopolitical risk they can't accept. Windows 11's architecture, constant cloud connectivity, data transmission to US servers, features that can't be fully disabled, makes it unacceptable for Chinese operation. Microsoft isn't fighting this. Can't fight it. The Chinese government decided. When China decides, companies comply or leave. Microsoft is losing approximately $8 billion in annual revenue from China over the next 3 years, because Windows 11's design is fundamentally incompatible with Chinese digital sovereignty requirements.
I don't think all of those customers would pay. I don't think Microsoft's partners would love to support umpteen billion versions of Windows forever on all of their software.
The European Union investigation. Meanwhile, Europe is conducting the most consequential investigation. The European Commission's GDPR compliance review of Windows 11 is reaching conclusions. Preliminary findings leaked in May. Windows 11 violates GDPR in multiple ways. Data collection without adequate consent. Transmission of personal data outside EU without proper safeguards. Inability for users to genuinely opt out without breaking functionality. Lack of transparency about what data is collected and how it's used. If the Commission issues a final finding of GDPR violations, the penalties are severe. Fines up to 4% of global revenue. That's $10 billion. But money isn't the biggest threat. The Commission can order Windows 11 withdrawn from the European market until it complies, can require fundamental architectural changes, can ban specific features like Recall and Copilot entirely in Europe. Microsoft is lobbying aggressively. Meetings with commissioners, promises to improve transparency, offers to create a special European edition with better privacy controls. But the Commission is skeptical. They've seen Microsoft promises before. The preliminary findings suggest Microsoft needs to fundamentally redesign Windows 11's data collection architecture, not just add options. Rebuild from the ground up with privacy as the primary design goal. That's years of work, billions in development costs, and it means admitting the current Windows 11 architecture is fundamentally flawed. European businesses aren't waiting for the investigation to conclude. They're migrating now. German companies deployed 340,000 Linux systems in Q1 2025. French businesses migrated 180,000. Italian companies switched 95,000. Across the EU, businesses are proactively moving away from Windows 11 to avoid GDPR liability. Even if the Commission doesn't ban Windows 11, businesses are banning it themselves. Microsoft is losing Europe, 450 million people, their second largest market, because Windows 11's data collection violates European privacy values. The Fortune 500 internal revolt. But the most dangerous trend for Microsoft is happening in American corporations, where Microsoft thought they were safe, where Windows dominance seemed unshakable. Internal documents from 83 Fortune 500 companies leaked in May reveal coordinated planning to reduce Windows dependency. Not eliminate it completely, but reduce it strategically. A leaked memo from a Fortune 50 tech company, Windows 11 creates unacceptable risks, performance degradation, security concerns, compliance issues. Directive: no Windows 11 deployments until further notice. Evaluate Mac and Linux alternatives for 40% of workforce. 40%. This company is planning to move 40% of their 95,000 employees off Windows entirely. That's 38,000 users. One company. The leaked documents show 83 companies planning similar moves. Various percentages, but all significant, all strategic, all driven by Windows 11 being unfit for enterprise use. If even half execute these plans, Microsoft loses 2 to 3 million enterprise users. That's $800 million to $1.2 billion in annual revenue from American companies. Microsoft's home market. The reasons are consistent. Performance worse than Windows 10. AI features creating productivity problems. Security concerns about recall. Compliance risks from data collection. Cost of hardware upgrades to meet Windows 11 requirements. User resistance driving. Support costs higher. Every company reaching the same conclusion. Windows 11 costs more and delivers less than Windows 10. The business case for migration doesn't exist. The business case for reducing Windows dependency does. The developer platform collapse. Stack Overflow's June 2025 data is catastrophic for Microsoft. Windows usage among professional developers, 38.2%, down from 41.8% in March, down from 47% in December, down from 53% a year ago. Windows is losing developers at accelerating pace. Mac is now at 34.7%, Linux at 27.1%. Windows is barely ahead of Mac and might fall to second place by end of 2025. Why does this matter more than other segments? Because developers build the future. The applications being developed today run on the platforms of 2027 to 2030. If developers build on Mac and Linux, applications run best on Mac and Linux. Windows versions become afterthoughts. That's the death spiral. Applications stop being Windows first. That breaks the monopoly. That ends Windows dominance permanently. And it's already happening. Major applications launching Mac first now. Figma's desktop app launched Mac only, Windows version 6 months later. Linear's desktop app, Mac exclusive for a year. Superhuman released Mac version, no Windows version plan. These are popular productivity tools, used by millions. Windows isn't getting them, or getting them late. Because developers don't use Windows, don't prioritize Windows, don't care about Windows. Windows 11 drove developers away, and without developers, Windows has no future. The Bill Gates Crisis Meeting, June 18th, 2025. Bill Gates convenes a private meeting, not an official board meeting, a private session with key Microsoft executives and board members, held at his estate outside Seattle. The topic, Windows survival. The tone, crisis. According to two people present, Gates was blunt. We're losing Windows, globally, rapidly. Korea banned it. Brazil is migrating 2.8 million systems away. China accelerating elimination. Europe investigating. Fortune 500 companies planning exits. Developers abandoned us. This is an existential crisis. What are we doing about it? Satya Nadella presents the response plan. Improved privacy controls in Windows 11.24 H2 update. Better performance optimization. Making AI features more optional. Relaxing some hardware requirements. Marketing campaign highlighting improvements. Basically incremental changes and PR. Gates rejects it. Incremental doesn't fix this. The world is rejecting Windows 11. Not complaining. Rejecting. Migrating away. We need fundamental change. Admit Windows 11 failed. Build Windows 12 from scratch. Privacy first. Performance first. User control first. Everything Windows 11 isn't. The executives resist. Admitting failure damages the brand. Rebuilding takes years. Shareholders expect AI integration and cloud strategy. Can't abandon that. Gates gets frustrated. Those are the options. The meeting ends with no consensus. Nadella committed to incremental improvements. Gates advocating for fundamental rebuild. Board members split. Nobody willing to make the call. The crisis continues. The revolt continues. And Microsoft keeps trying minor fixes while the platform collapses globally. Where this ends. July 2025. Windows overall market share. 62.3%. Below the critical 65% threshold. Linux, 9.1%. Mac, 19.4%. Other, 9.2%. Windows is declining month over month. Competitors growing. The trends are clear. Windows is becoming a minority platform. Not immediately, but within 3 to 5 years at current rates. Once that happens, the network effects reverse. Windows stops being the default, becomes one option among many, loses the monopoly that made it essential, becomes just another OS, declining, irrelevant. Microsoft's Windows revenue is projected to drop 35 to 40% by 2028, from $22 billion to $13 to $14 billion annually. That's the direct cost of Windows 11 failure, but the cascade costs more. Lose Windows, lose Office revenue, lose Azure adoption, lose the entire ecosystem. Total revenue impact could be $40 to $60 billion annually by 2030. That's catastrophic. That's company-defining disaster. If this opened your eyes to the global Windows 11 revolt, share it. Microsoft isn't advertising that Korea banned it, that Brazil is migrating 2.8 million systems away, that China accelerated Windows elimination, that Europe is investigating GDPR violations, that Fortune 500 companies are planning strategic exits, that developers abandoned the platform. All of this is happening. Documented, public, but dispersed across government announcements, leaked documents, survey data. Microsoft hopes nobody connects the dots. But the dots connect. The pattern is clear. Windows 11 triggered a global revolt, and that revolt is accelerating. Windows is dying by choice. Countries choosing to leave, companies choosing alternatives, developers choosing other platforms. Not because competitors are better, because Windows 11 is that bad. That's the truth. That's what's happening right now. And that's why Bill Gates is stunned. The platform he built is being abandoned worldwide, and Microsoft can't stop it.